Hello, I'm Al Bledsoe, and I'm here today with Ron Chappell, and we're proud to have Bob Marshall with us today on Proudly We Served. And we're here today to discuss some veteran affairs and different things around the community that Bob's involved in, and some things that we hope that you'll be interested in. So while we get started here, let's have Ron go around and introduce everybody and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Ron Chappell. I pastor at New Life Church of Nazarene, and I'm the chaplain for the Vietnam Veterans Post 777. Bob, you want to tell us what you do?
I'm Bob Marshall. I'm the president of Vietnam Veterans of America Post 777. I'm also the president of the Wayne County Veterans Council.
Yeah. And that's not all he does.
Yeah.
He does. That's why we wanted to have him on today, because he's so intricately involved in a lot of the stuff that's going on around the community. So we hope that this program will be informative and let you know what we're doing and how maybe you can get involved in helping us do some things.
Bob, when we get started, let's talk a little bit about the flags and what they are going to do this year with the Avenue of Flags, with the one guy quitting or retiring, basically, and you taking over.
Yeah. Well, Roger Stinson took that on from the outset, and he's done a marvelous job, but he's got to a place where it's a little more than he can handle. So I've taken it over on an interim basis. It'll go as well. Right now we're in the process of purchasing new flags. We have 350 flags in the community. About 250 of those have to be replaced this year. Usually in a typical year we'll have a dozen or so that we have to replace. That's always a challenge.
Sure.
Because usually the ones that go bad are the ones on the bridges. Mm-hmm. They're the hardest ones to get to, but they're exposed to the most wind. Mm-hmm. Last year there was a little bit of controversy over us getting that done as quickly as we can, but it's a pretty expensive proposition. To put a new flag up costs us around $48. We exist on donations, and donation $50 to put a new flag up, so we don't have any continuing maintenance fees for that. So that's all done through donations. All the service organizations support that a lot. So it's been a very successful program, and it's something I think Richmond needs to be proud of.
Sure.
We call it Avenue of Flags. Why do we call it that, and why do we do that?
Well, originally, I think they planned on just doing that down 27 and through 40, or Main Street. And that's pretty much where it is, but it's kind of expanded a little bit past that. We have flags all the way down 5th Street now. We've got a 2-block area on 8th Street between North 8th and A and South 8th and A where we don't have any flags. We're going to try to rectify that this year. There's been some construction issues that have held that back, but I think we'll be able to do that. But that was the original thing. And the name, I think, originated from a city in Oklahoma where this all started. And we just carried, the people who started all this a few years back just carried all that on.
Going back to that donations thing, just for a little bit, the clubs and different service organizations that support the Avenue of Flags, those donations have really been off the last couple of years. So it's really been a struggle, really, to keep that going. A lot of people probably don't really realize how much it takes to really operate Avenue of Flags.
Well, we're going to replace 250 flags this year. Typically we pay about $20 a flag. We found some on the internet that were a little bit less expensive, but we're probably going to have to buy around 200 flags at $20 a piece. That's $4,000.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then just the upkeep on the poles and stuff. So on an annual basis, it's run us around between $3,500 and $4,500 to maintain that. I think the clubs have stepped up, and not just the service clubs. A lot of the clubs in the community have stepped up. The Richmond Realtors Association gave us a really nice donation last year. Kiwanis and Optimus have helped us out in the past. So I mean, a lot of it has to do with we've been so busy with other issues that we haven't really worked the solicitation as hard as we probably could have. But we're in pretty good shape. And in the future, I think that's probably going to be even better.
So is the idea to try to encourage people to instill more patriotism Is that the
I don't think
idea
it's just patriotism. I think it's also pride in your community.
Okay.
I think
okay.
that has a lot to do
Well, I
with
think
it.
you can also buy a flag, can't you? I mean,
Yeah.
you can actually buy a flag, donate it for whoever you want to
We
donate
usually
it
try to buy the flags. We buy all of our flags from Annan, which is a very, very old flag maker. In fact, they made the flags that were used on Lincoln's casket. They're really high quality flags.
The real flag, the flag that was actually used on Lincoln's
Casket was made by
Is that
Annan.
right?
Yes. So they've been in business for quite a while.
Oh wow. Yeah.
We buy a nylon flag because they don't get faded in the sun as bad as a cloth. There are some less expensive flags out there, but it goes back, you get what you pay for. And we're getting a real deal on these. We get these through a local office supply company. They cut us a really good deal on them. The flags retail for around $40. We're getting a good buy on them.
I think it's fair to say we have to have the help in putting those flags up, and it's at RP&L, and it's really been good about using their trucks and their time and effort and donating that as a service, which is monumental. To me, it would be crazy trying to put a flag up, but I guess maybe if you got the right tools and the right equipment,
And it usually
becomes
only takes
easy.
them about a day or two.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, it goes pretty quick. The real challenge is usually trying to get them down, because we put them up right before Memorial Day, and we take them down right after Veterans Day. So the weather in November can be a challenge. We have a couple ice storms. This year, it took a little bit of time to get them down, but it wasn't for one of them not doing it. And we've looked into purchasing our own vehicle to do that with. Again, it's cost prohibitive right now for us.
Well, guys, I'm committed to the organization and what we do, but I am not getting up on one of those poles. I've seen them up there on the bridge putting those flags up. Man,
I wouldn't get up on a ladder
No,
for
I'm not
nothing.
doing it.
So
We don't have people lined up for that job.
let's talk a little bit about last time we had Dwayne Hodgson on, who wrote the book on the Vietnam veterans and World War II veterans and the Korean veterans. Let's talk a little bit about that. Sunday is soon approaching when we're going to have another, I feel like, a good thing for the guys in Nam and the guys in Korea. That again, we're going to get a little bit of a attaboy, if you want to call it that. A little bit well-deserved something in the community, I guess, to let people know that.
Well, there are several things going on. They have the book signing, I believe it's April the 12th.
Right.
April 12th.
And then April the 18th, the Ladies Auxiliary at the VFW is hosting a luncheon for Vietnam veterans. Also that day, I think the DAR is going to dedicate a new bench to Memorial Park. So we've got quite a few things coming. And this is the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. So there's a lot of activities around that.
DAR, the Daughters of American
Daughters
Revolution?
of the American Revolution.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So any now the luncheon, do you know, is it open to just veterans or their families as well, or?
Usually the way they run those is any Vietnam veteran and a guest.
Okay.
So, and I believe they're planning on having pasta and a salad. So they're working real hard at it, getting it set up.
And that's April the 18th at 11:30?
11 o'clock.
11:30.
11:30.
At the VFW.
At the
Post
VFW.
11.
Yeah,
right?
back in the bingo room, in the back room.
yeah,
So, and if somebody's wanting to do that, really appreciate it if you call the VFW 966-6441 and let us know your name so we make sure we have enough food.
Right.
That'd be handy. So.
Hey, before it escapes my mind, guys, as things normally do, on the flags, if someone wants to make a contribution, who do they get a hold of? How do they get in touch with them?
They probably want to get a hold of me. I work at the VFW. I'm the bar manager there. So they can either mail that to, I believe it's Post Office Box 1304 here in Richmond.
Correct.
Or they can mail it to the VFW, which is at 213 South 8th Street. And we would appreciate that. Any contribution.
And make it payable to
Make it payable
check.
to the Veterans Council.
Veterans Council. Okay, for the check. Okay.
Well, it's a big job keeping council and all of that stuff, trying to keep all of that organized with the different organizations in town and the way all of that's set up.
Yeah,
You've done a remarkable job. You've
Well-
served as president a couple of years. Recently we've hit some bumps, but
Well, there was a vote taken at the last meeting to dissolve the Wayne County Veterans
Yeah, I
Council.
heard that.
That's primarily because there's so much duplication of
It's a good thing.
duties.
It really is.
I
a good
think
thing.
it
Yeah.
was a,
The dissolution is a good thing?
Yes.
It's all right?
yeah, it was a very close vote. But the honor guard moved over to post 65.
Okay.
That was a better fit for them.
Okay.
So really, the only thing that we're managing right now is the Avenue of Flags and the van, and the VA is getting ready to relocate to their new clinic
Right, South
on
Hill.
North J Street,
That's
and
right.
along with that,
That's right.
we've been told that they're going to lease the old fire station out on Northwest Fifth, right next to the Farm Bureau,
Yeah.
and they're going to base the van out of there. So I think they're going to become a little more active in that. That's been pretty much all volunteer driven. Ron Wiedeck's managed that since its conception. He's done a wonderful job, but Ron's getting a little wore out. And nobody's really jumping up to want to take that over. So that might be something that can be gone another way. The Avenue of Flags, the VFW, has expressed an interest in assuming responsibility for that. The VFW has a little better financial resources than we do. They've been a very heavy contributor in the past. So, and quite frankly, the attendance at the Veterans Council meetings has dwindled down to where it's usually the officers and a couple other people, and that's about it. There's not a lot of interest or a lot of support. So,
Wait, I think that part of that is basically, I think, as we talked before, part of that's an age factor. You know, guys are getting older, getting tireder. We
birthdays.
need that young blood coming in, and that's going to be a big part.
we do,
the community.
and they went through this same thing when the World War II vets got to be our age, and the Vietnam vets hadn't started stepping up right away.
Sure.
So, you know, and we are seeing more and more of the younger vets coming in.
Right.
But you know, let's face it, most of those guys are in their 30s and their 40s. They got kids in school and lots of stuff to do, and they're busy with other things. Plus, there's a lot of competition for people's spare time now that there wasn't
That's for sure.
30, 40 years
Sure.
ago.
That's
So,
for sure. Yeah. But maybe this is a good time for us to make an appeal or be informative in terms of those veterans out there who don't have a connection, you know, to
Well-
come and be a part of what we're doing.
I agree with that. And the sad truth is, the veterans look out for each other. You know, when you're in the service, you look out for your buddies, and when you're out of service, you look out for your buddies.
Sure.
We just recently had a gentleman at the VFW that was incurring some financial issues.
Major issues.
Major
just
financial issues.
Financial issues.
We
major issues.
we hired him at the VFW, gave him a part-time job. We got him into an apartment that we subsidized for him. Everything looked like it was going pretty good. We got him on the fast track in the VA. Turned out he had a major health problem. So we worked our way through that. He's in real good shape now. He's back to work. Everything's stepped up. He's in the system. So.
Good.
You know, and that's what we're for. You know, nobody else is going to take care of you. That's what we're supposed to do.
kinda like doing-
VFW's motto is Veterans Helping Veterans.
Yeah.
That's what we're all about. That's what we're there for. People don't realize these organizations are all charities. That's how they're set up. So,
That's
And when
a
you
good
see a
point.
veteran down, and I know specifically the guy that he's talking about, boy, when I first met him, you know, it was difficult to see him in that kind of a position. If you see him then and fast forward that and see him now, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
been very successful.
Yeah.
He was there the other night. There was, I think we had 80-some people there the other night, and got up and said a few things. But man alive, you could heard a pin drop in there when he was talking. I mean, it was just, he had throat cancer. And but anyway, he survived all of that. And to
Right.
see him do that, and see the club help with that, and see how really God spared his life, basically,
Right.
is what it amounts to.
Right.
So-
And then God spared his life, and the
Yeah.
club was there to help support
Well,
him.
and they was there to prop him up and keep him propped up. So.
Okay, I gotta remember which program this is.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit down the road. We're going to get into our Memorial Day and things like that, and,
Yeah, that's
being president of VVA, or Vietnam Veterans of America. We always do our ceremonial thing on Earlham Hill. I guess we'll still continue on with
We'll
that.
continue on with that. The Memorial Committee has expressed a desire to assume the responsibilities for the ceremonies at the Memorial Park and at Earlham Hill for both Memorial Day and Armistice Day or the Veterans Day. Next year we've got the wall coming in,
All right.
so that's gonna be a big thing. So there's a lot of things to do. A lot of things coming up. I don't think any of that's going to go away. Either the VFW or the American Legion will probably assume responsibility for the Veterans Day Parade. There's been some talk about holding a parade over the 4th of July. I don't know how that's going to work out yet. There's quite a bit of interest, but there's a lot going on the 4th of July, so we'll have to wait and see how that works out.
I think the Veterans Day Parade has become such a tradition, and again, Ron Weedick is the guy that heads that up, and that's a real undertaking in itself
It
to
is.
keep all of that
Yeah.
going, all those organizations, and we usually have 100 entries, maybe 110 entries, but it's something that the community, I think, likes. The participation from the community, I think, has been better.
It's been great.
The
It's
last
been
couple
great,
of years,
man.
it just
Well,
seems like
weather's been nice to us the last
Yeah.
couple
Yeah,
of
that's
years.
true too.
Weather's been really nice.
it's kind of almost. It's not really the start of fall, but it's kind of in between all of that. So it's kind of an interesting time. So
Yeah. And we should say too that we certainly appreciate the support that we get from the community.
Oh, my,
When they come
yes.
out, and see the people on the sidewalks, waving flags and saying hi and all that, that's very, very, very encouraging.
Well, and the community supports all the programs. We have probably 400 or 500 people that show up for the Memorial Day ceremonies between the two of them. They're not all veterans. An awful lot of them are just folks out of the community.
Right.
And the Memorial Committee is doing really good work. They dedicated the Peacekeepers Monument last year. We had a good turnout for that. So, and they're working on getting some other items down there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, our last programs that we had last year, the tailspin of all the programs last year was at the park, where we kind of went through some
Man,
of
we
those,
got good
some of
feedback
those
on that.
monuments and things that were there, and that was. From what I've heard from people, that was some of the best programs that
we
we
got
had
so much
because
good
it was a
feedback.
live shot and
Yeah.
it was not
Yeah.
talking about a monument. You was actually standing there by the monument and you could see it because Veterans Park, our Veterans Park anyway, I think is one of the best parks in the state.
That's been said to me by people from out of state who've come to visit their relatives or whatever, and they came down to the park. They said, "Man, I've never seen anything like this. This is
and again,
awesome."
we've got a lot of support from the city on that.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got a new drive that goes right up to Main Street, much more accessible now than it was in the past.
Yeah.
So, and they help
forgot
an
about
awful
that.
lot with
Yeah.
maintaining the grounds, and so the city's really been supportive of veterans.
Well, some people I know, one time I'm from Illinois, and one time I went home, and there was a sign up that said Veterans Memorial Park. And I'll never forget, it was on a major highway. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to exit there, and I'm just going
Check it
to
out.
take a look at it. It was like one monument.
Yeah.
And I thought, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, yeah.
This isn't a
A little
park.
statue or
It's just
something,
one
yeah.
monument.
Yeah, yeah.
So our park is just well supported by the community, and the city has done, like he said, a good job putting that road in. That had to cost some money to put that road in. That's a
scheduled to
paved
put-
road and all that
Well,
stuff.
it's
We're scheduled to put restrooms in there this year.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I heard
So
that.
that'll
Instead of
really be
having
nice.
to-
Yeah.
That'll
Wow,
help out a
that'd
lot.
be good.
But I would beg even folk even Indianapolis. they've got that big space there, but no place have I been where there has been just representation of all the services, contribution to include women service members and all that. No place have I seen anything like what we have here in Richmond. It is awesome, and I encourage people to come and take a look. It's open. Is it 24 hours?
Yeah,
think
it's
it's
always
open.
open.
24
Yeah.
yeah,
24/7.
just drive down there. Yeah, check it
In the
out.
summertime, when it gets to be close to sunset, you can go down there and set, and it's peaceful, it's quiet.
yeah.
It's just, it's really quite
Yeah.
something, I think.
And I got a note a while back. If you wanted to use it like for a picnic or something like that, you contact the post 1108, right?
Yeah,
Or-
and then
and
we'll
they
get you in
can-
touch with Joe Goebel right now,
Right.
the president of the
Yeah.
Memorial Committee. And
So it'd be nice
they'll
to have a
work all
little
that
family
out.
reunion down there or something like that, Yeah. be
Joe
great.
does all of that work, and that's another one of those guys that volunteers his services like Bob does, that he's constantly out there mowing, in the summertime, mowing grass, clipping, trimming, and he sets up all that stuff. It's amazing that he still does that.
The Seton school system helps us out an awful lot with down there too. Every year they take that on as a project. Last year they replaced all the mulch for us, so there's a lot of community involvement there.
We had a program for them, I think, or thought we had a program for them at the park last year, didn't we? One of the schools. Am I thinking wrong?
No, I think that was Connorsville.
Connorsville. Yeah, that's what it was.
So now, if I'm the spouse of a veteran, or I'm a veteran, and I'm tired of just sitting around, or I'm the spouse and tired of seeing he or she just sitting around the house, and I want them to get involved with what's going on with veterans in the community, how do they get in contact with us? How do they join the VVA? How do they join 1108? What do they do? When do these organizations meet?
The simplest way to do that is go to the veterans organization of your choice, and just walk in, sit down, have a cup of coffee, and tell them you're interested in joining, or tell them you want to volunteer. There's a American Legion in Hagerstown, Cambridge City. AMVETS is in Greens Fork. There are two active American Legions in Richmond. The VFW is at Richmond. The VVA meets at the VFW. They don't have their own place, so there's always somebody there that can put you in touch with all those organizations. Be more than happy to have you. Yeah. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we do.
It's not all going out and working in the parades and stuff, but there's a lot of camaraderie.
The
All these
VVA,
organizations, and all these organizations work really hard to make things good for the vets and for their families.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the auxiliary that's possibly going to come to pass at the VFW. Let's talk a little bit how that started and what's going on with that issue.
I don't know a whole lot about that. The auxiliary was
You know everything.
it was started shortly. It started shortly after the VFW post was. They are an autonomous organization. They aren't subservient to the VFW. They have their own officers. They have their own meetings. They meet at the VFW. They provide a lot of assistance and support in all of our programs, both financial and manpower, lady power, whatever you want. But and they're a good organization. They're really active. I'm not really aware of what all goes. I'm not real active in any of the American Legion posts, so I'm not really one to talk about that. But I know they have auxiliaries, and I know those auxiliaries are also help. The Marine Corps League, same way. Marine Corps League has a women's auxiliary, and they're very active. So.
What about the new auxiliary that's coming down with the VFW?
Well, this is the men's auxiliary at the VFW. They voted to look into that. They've made the bylaws changes.
Correct.
I believe the bylaws will be voted on at the next meeting. And then if you're a man and you have a father, grandfather, brother, I think that's the main.
Yeah, it has to be a bloodline of some
bloodline of some sort.
Right.
I'm not quite sure about stepfathers. I don't know how they address that. I'm not on that committee. Then you can join the VFW auxiliary.
Okay.
And that, again, they're a little bit different than the women's auxiliary. They're not quite as autonomous as the women's auxiliary, but we have an awful lot of guys that come down and help us out that aren't eligible to belong to the VFW.
Right.
One gentleman in particular is there all the time and does anything we ever ask him to do, and he can't join. He was never in the service, so it'll help those guys.
Yeah.
Now there is a Sons of the Legion, which is a similar organization, and then the Marine Corps League has an associate program, which is a similar organization.
It'll propel the veterans of foreign war, if you will. It'll propel that to increase in people. Because it's actually designed around younger people, isn't it? I mean, it's actually, that's what it's actually for, I think. It's the younger crowd, if you want to call it that.
Well, being partial to VVA 777, I want to make sure folks know that we meet on the third Thursdays of the month.
Correct.
And because of the auxiliaries, you're encouraged to get there early because we have dinner at 6 o'clock.
Correct.
That they bring in, and it's scrumptious. And then our meeting starts at 7. And we're out by 8 or before. Bob runs. I like the way he runs the meeting. I mean, nothing against the president.
It's well structured.
But it's well structured. We get in there and we get out, take care of business, and we get on out. So
sure.
third Thursdays, 7 p.m. at Post 1108, VVA 777. Come on out and join us out there.
And
And let's-
if I might add,
Yeah.
the Memorial Committee meets right after that meeting.
Yeah.
And anybody can come to that meeting.
Anybody.
Anybody. So,
Something that we're going to run short on our time here just a little bit, but I think we need to bring up the poppies that are coming up this month. Is that April 25th?
I believe it is.
Thinking right?
25th.
Poppies is a good thing. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
we
the
don't-
Poppy program started right after World War I as a result of a poem that was written about the poppies, the fields of Flanders, and or Flanders fields, I'm sorry. And all the veterans organizations sell poppies on different times. The VFW, I believe, was the first organization to do that. On Saturday the 25th, at all the businesses around town, you'll see auxiliary members and members. I usually even take my dog. And it's just a way for us to memorialize the sacrifices by our veterans and
Yeah. All right.
helps a little bit financially.
All right.
With that, we're just about to
Yeah,
come
we're
to
out
the
of
end
time,
of it,
yeah.
and so we're going to say goodbye for this time, for this session. And I'm Al Bledsoe, and I'd like to sign off. And let's go around. And
Chappell.
I'd like to have Bob. I really thank you a lot for coming
Yeah,
today
yeah, very
and
informative.
giving us that information.
Yeah.
We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
It does take time
Yeah.
of your day to come and do that. So
Yeah.
with that being said,
Yeah.
God bless you, and we'll see you next time.